All right, everybody. Today we're making a video on making a C-frame guillotine tool. The standard guillotine tool that I have works fine, but this gives me the option to put in things from the side. And this is a little more versatile than the one that I already have. So we'll go through everything in the video of how I put it together. I'm going to cut out a lot of the welding and the grinding and sanding and things like that, because it seems most people only watch 2-3 minutes of the video anyway. So there's no point in making the video 15 minutes long with something that nobody's going to watch anyway. So I'll cut it down, maybe try and make it short and sweet. If you like that, then let me know in the comments. If you don't, then let me know in the comments. If you'd like to keep the videos longer and you want it to be more informative, let me know. I'll keep making them that way. If you want them to be shorter and just kind of segmented, let me know.
And we are the Chisholm Trail Outdoor Museum blacksmiths. Welcome to our shop.
Yeah, take it all the way down. This is my original guillotine tool. Works fine, but what we're looking to do is make a C-frame guillotine tool so that we can work from the side and put fullers down longer objects, because this way we can only do it perpendicular. Let's zip this thing off of here real quick. Now we have two plates, identical size and shape, and we'll weld them onto the base plate with a shank, and then we'll put spacers in here to shore everything up, make it nice and stiff, and then we'll work on making the dies for it. All right, now we'll let this cool off a little bit. I'll weld the sides and then get some pieces cut for the gussets or whatever you want to call it. But we're getting there. Now that I've got most of my gussets cut and tacked into place, I'll work on building the mount for the dies to slide in and out of, and then weld everything up and we'll be good to go. Okay, now we've got at least these parts of the gussets welded in. Believe me, I realize my welding could look better, but this will work for what I need it to. I'll get to grinding these down and we'll move on to making the dies. We're going to heat these up and anneal them so that I can cut them with the bandsaw, flatten them, and then shape the dies, and then we'll make the guides, I guess you'd call them, for the dies on the tool and put everything together after that. So this will take a few minutes. We're going to start with annealing this little short piece. It's already flat. I'm not going to use it for the dies, but I will use it for the spacers on the guides so that the dies fit perfectly into the guide. That'll give me the right width. So we'll start with that one, set it aside, and then we'll work on flattening some of the longer pieces that I can use for the actual dies. This piece will make a couple of bottom dies, and this one will make a couple of top dies. And we'll just set them aside and let them cool off. We'll work on the rest. This will mostly be more of the same, so I won't bore you with all of this. And once I get these straightened out and cleaned up, then we'll make the guides and start putting everything together. For the flattening, most of what I do is give it a good smack with a 2x4 because I want these to be flat and not messed up. I don't want to put a whole lot of dents and things like that in them. The light hammer blows after that, just to keep everything where I want it. Once it's flat, I'll set it off to the side, let that cool off, but that's flattening a leaf spring there. And these will anneal, and I can cut them and finish the work on them. So there's that part. So this is where we are now. We have the bottom guide set in place and welded. A trick, I guess, or guide at least for putting the two together is to use a long piece of the same material so you can line up where your top and bottom die go together. That way it'll all be in line. So this is what the guide, I guess you'd say, looks like. All I did to get the spacing right was taking a piece of the same leaf spring that I'm using for the dies and cut little sections out for spacers so that this will fit in there, and that will allow the die to slide in and out and the spacing will be right. And these are just plates of the same 1/4 inch plate that I used to make the whole frame out of. So I'll get the top set put in there, then we'll cut the dies, shape the dies to fit, clean it all up with a flap disc or something so it doesn't look horrible. Maybe shoot a coat of red oxide paint on it so it doesn't rust. None of that is really necessary. Function over form, I guess, but whatever you want to do with it is fine. This is after a little going over with a flap disc and a what do you call it, a Scotch-Brite disc, just to knock the mill scale and whatnot off of it. And then I just made a quick set of rounding dies for if you're gonna do like flat dies. The bottom die I normally make flat on one side and round on the other so that you can drop it in and still have a flat die, and it doesn't really harm this after you've hardened it. So the bottom die is, well, this is 3 inches tall. The bottom die makes 4 inches, and then you make your top die where you still have room to smack it with a hammer. Make the same profile, harden both of these, and then polish them, and you have a way to slide material in from the side and use it as a fullering tool for something longer than you can do with a regular guillotine tool like this one. You can only go one direction with that. Obviously you can't go through here. So these work fine for most of what I need to do, but a C-frame guillotine was multi-purpose. So I'll probably shoot a coat of like red oxide paint on this thing so that it doesn't rust and make up several more dies, but you get the gist of the tool, and it cost me $0 to make. I had the plate. Of course, this is a little bigger than I probably would have liked it, but I had this 1/2 inch plate already with a 1 inch round shank on it, which if I put it in my hardy hole, I can rotate the guillotine tool around, which gives me a more versatile tool instead of just being, I can only move it 90 degrees. So it still holds in there fine, but it does move a little bit. So if you want it to be locked down in place, go with a square shank, but this works for what I need it for. And I already had the plate, so I just made the guillotine tool to fit the plate that I already had. And I used trailer leaf springs off of just a small trailer for the dies. On my larger one, I used truck leaf springs, and they work well too. I only harden the contact faces, and I leave this part just annealed so that it's not real hard. It doesn't damage your hammer or anything like that. But that's the gist of it. Hope you guys like it. It took me 2 days to make this thing because it's Texas and it's a gazillion degrees outside in August. So there you have it.